أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah, we begin with the name of Allah, the name of God, the most gracious, the most compassionate, the merciful, the one who sees and is observant of all things, whereas we don't see all things. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to send His blessings and peace and salawat upon the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, upon the companions, upon the family, and upon those that follow the path of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah. So inshallah, alhamdulillah, it's been 2 weeks, mashallah, after Eid. I know officially Eid, the celebration, it finishes just one day afterwards, but for many in this community, from the Muslim American communities around, from the Muslim Indonesian Muslim community, specifically in Koreatown, it lasts for a whole month and more, so that everyone's still enjoying that silat rahim, that we're still enjoying the company with each other, we're enjoying the food, enjoying the different gatherings that we're having, because it's hard to have things happening on the weekdays. So weekends is where we can make it happen, inshallah. So the Eid party is still going along up to the next Eid, Eid al-Adha, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, that's those ties that we need to have, it's good to have that company, to have the food together. Afshu salam, atau, as the Prophet ﷺ said, in having the alliances of the immigrants, the muhajirin and the ansar together, the helpers, one of the ways is to spread the love, spread the salams, and to feed people, to share food. That's a medium that we can use. When we talk about Eid, it's not just about the food. It's not just about the Eid parties, the post-Eid parties. There's a meaning behind Eid, a very specific meaning. There are general meanings as well. One of the meanings is, it comes from the Arabic, aada ya'udu, and the etymology or the syntax of that, which means to return. When we go into Eid, لِتُكْمِلُوا الْعِدَّةَ وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, to say Allahu Akbar, وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ, when we say Allahu Akbar, for what He has guided us on. The idea of Allahu Akbar is something that we're always saying, and you can say a mantra or a slogan that the Muslims have, that we have and has had since 1300 years. Right? And so we talk about Eid, we talk about returning, aada ya'udu. What are we returning to? That's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Are we returning to our pot-bellied, gaining a bit more pounds and then losing them, so on and so forth? What are we returning to? That's a question that we have to ask ourselves after post-Eid. Right? So we're not just returning to our normal selves, going back before Eid, after Eid. Of course, you have the Ramadan blues. We have the spirit of Ramadan. We ask Allah so that we have the spirit of Ramadan outside of Ramadan, inshallah. But when we say return, there's also a specific word or a phrase in the Muslim tradition that we say when something of grief, something of sorrow, something that we lose, a loss of life, a loss of wealth, a loss of the drop of stocks that we're seeing. We say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. What does that mean? It says, indeed we are lillah, lam al-milkiyah. The lam over there, it says we are indeed property of Allah, that we are coming from Allah, that Allah owns us. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi, and indeed we are to Him, to Allah, to the Divine, returning. Raji'un. Because raja' as well means to return. So we have these different meanings of returning, of going back to Allah, of going back to the real. That is our true return. We don't say this just for a death, and we've noticed many deaths. I'm trying to link us up with how we live as Muslims here in this society that we live in, and the relationship that we have with the rest of the world. The relationship that we have as Muslims in being cognizant. Because when we return to Allah, when we have that mindset in place, not just when someone passes away, not just during Eid, but beyond Eid, it's a mindset that we have, that we're always returning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's the beginning of the khutbah that we always say, and there's a recent, during Ramadan, alhamdulillah, over here at this community space, this Muslim community space, this Masjid, we had a Latina Muslimah, mashallah. She accepted Islam, and then we conducted and helped with the process going along. And one of our teachers, the way they exemplify how to have that procession in session, in terms of the accepting of Islam, saying that Shahada, is to invite the observing community to repeat after who's conducting it. For example, I'd say Ashhadu, and the community says Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, because the idea of the Shahada is something that we're always returning to. Right? It's to renew ourselves. We say the Shahada every single day, but is there our proactive and conscious understanding of what that Shahada even means? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, in the Tahiyyat al-Akhir, right, at the last end of prayers or in between the prayers, we say the Shahada. Now what's the Shahada about? Why am I talking about the Shahada? Why is it so important? We know that it's a pillar of Islam. When the hadith of Jibreel, the Archangel Gabriel, came to the Prophet and the companions and asked the Prophet what is Islam? And so the Prophet he replied that Islam is the Shahada as the first pillar, or the witnessing. In English, you have lots of terminologies that can get close to a meaning, but unfortunately that's what happens when you translate from one meaning or one language to another medium. You get lost in translation of it. Right? Shahada, some say testify. I testify, I bear witness that there is no God, there's no deity except God with a capital G. The true and real, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shahada here, from the Arabic linguistic understanding, shahida yashhadu, it means to be present, to see, to know, to witness. Right? For example, when we bear witness that there is no God but Allah, what are we saying? For example, and this is where I'm stemming our reflections from, al-hikmatu dhalatul mu'min. Prophet ﷺ says that wisdom, and I'm paraphrasing, that wisdom is the lost property of the believer. Wherever we find benefit, wherever we find wisdom and insights, we take from that. Right? We don't leave insights and reflections away. What am I getting at with the eyewitnessing of, for example, there's been, during Fajr prayer over here, there's an attempted thievery of someone's, a brother's bicycle over there, and someone saw it happen. They witnessed the crime. They witnessed the scene of the crime. Right? They saw it with their own eyes. Eyewitness. Right? Because if they weren't there, they were never a witness at all. Right? They were present. They saw it with their own eyes. That's an eyewitness. Shahada comes from the idea that when we say and bear witness that there is nothing any else other than God, no deities, no this, X, Y, and Z, we're saying that this thing that we're saying, I bear witness, is clear as the bright blue sky. It's like you have the sun and you see it's very bright, it's clear. We can witness the sun. That's the clarity that we as submitters to Allah aim towards. The clarity of the witness, the clarity of eyewitnessing who God truly is. And that's the challenge for us. Right? Another word that comes from this, maybe in the Indonesian, is mati syahid, or someone who dies as a martyr. Shahida yashhadu as well, it stems from that. It is, in Arabic, a martyr, someone who dies in the path of God. Fi sabilillah. Right? So you have someone who's present and someone who's there. Why I'm taking all from this is that we've just seen the atrocity that has been happening overseas, and especially where media, unfortunately, doesn't capture. Right? There's recently on those of you who are on the gram or social media, the casket of the Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Aqla. She was an American Palestinian Al Jazeera journalist, and the casket was being attacked. They wanted to go on. And we know the example of the Prophet ﷺ. What was his example? That when a Jew was being brought up, the Prophet stood up, and the Sahabas asked, "Why are you standing up?" And the Prophet ﷺ, paraphrasing, was that, "Is that not a soul?" Right? And we see what is happening there, and how literally you can quote, when you shoot or kill the messenger, then that's something that's very alarming. Right? It's not just a Muslim thing. It's a human atrocity thing. It's a humanitarian crisis in that sense. Right? And especially for us as being submitters to God, we have to see this and to really ask ourselves, what is happening? What is going on? Right? And if we're not feeling something, that's a veil, that's an issue with our hearts. Right? That's an issue with our hearts. Because the media in society, really interesting, the Prophet ﷺ, as a reflection on a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, "By the one in whose hand is my soul, a time will surely come upon people in which the killer does not know why he was killed." And the one killed does not know why he was killed. Right? Which the killer does not know why he kills, and the one killed does not know why he was killed. Right? It's the media. It's something that we have to see with our open eyes. It's not just the viewing, but the eyewitnessing, the shahada. It's to really have not just sight, but insight. We have to really understand what is going on in the scene. Right? Malcolm X talks about the media as well. The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent. Right? They control the minds of the masses. And we see how in our society, even with the hyphenated identities of American, Palestinian, journalists, so on and so forth, where's the outcry? Where is the pouring of prayers and thoughts and warm resonations with that? Right? That's an alarming thing that we say about the situation that we have here, and it's an awareness that we have, shahada itself, to realize that when we are saying ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna muhammadar rasulullah, that we bear witness, that it's clear as the sky, we realize that Allah is seen. Allah is the shaheed. As the martyr is the shaheed, Allah is also the shaheed. What do I mean by that? Allah the shaheed, meaning that Allah sees every single thing that happens. Nothing happens without Allah being observant of that. The Prophet ﷺ was also called, of his names, shaheed, because he was observant of his ummah. He was observant of the community at hand. وَنَزَعْنَا مِنْ كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ شَهِيدًا, that we've taken from every community a shaheed, an observer, a witness. Right? So we're witnessing these times. And the question for us here in Koreatown, wherever you may be, as Muslims here in this society, what is our action item? What is our available thing that we can do? Right? That's the question that we ask, inshallah, and we can help with some of guidance and some answers, inshallah, with the next khutbah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم. أما بعد, to continue on with the follow-up of being aware of God, being aware of our witnessing of God, and being aware of what is happening in this world that we've been tasked to take care of as the caretakers, the guardians, literally the guardians of the galaxy. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Khalifatan fil Ard. That's the task that we have. There's a quote by a Nusantaran, a scholar, a very thought-provoking figure, I deem that to be. And the way I'm wearing as well is just, to really put some respect, on them, on our teachers that have passed. It's a saying by BUKA, which may be controversial to some. You can search it up as well. But I feel many of his thoughts, many of his thought processes in developing pre-colonial, post-colonial Indonesia and that revolution that many of us can take away from as lessons to learn. He says, I'll say the Indonesian, kalau hidup hanya sekedar hidup, kera sekedar di rimba juga hidup. Kalau kerja sekedar kerja, kerbau di sawah juga kerja. Capailah kemanfaatanmu di kehidupanmu hingga bermanfaat bagi semesta. The English is, if life is just only living, then, I'm paraphrasing because my Indonesian is not that well, but if life is just living, then monkeys in a jungle are also living. And if work is just for the sake of working, then the water buffaloes in the fields are still working as well. They're working as well. Do your best in providing benefits in your lives so that you can provide benefit towards the universe around you. As we say, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. If we understand the concept of Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, that we praise Allah, we thank Allah for what? Because He is the God, He is the real of Alameen, everything other than Allah. That's the mindset that we're trying to aim for. That's the mindset of Eid. That's the mindset of where we submit to Allah and not just a lovingly state, but where we are proactive. And that's the action item. So here, with in closing, inshallah, the action item, because we know how it goes. You know, the past 10, 20, 30 years, Palestine, many other places where the oppressed are being oppressed, and the media not putting as much effort into, you know, putting that on live stream or so on and so forth, and the manipulation of the media, it's fortunately it's normal, right? It's very normal. But what we can do for ourselves as a Muslim community, as individuals, is, you know, we have to make power moves to bring about a unified Islamic polity, meaning that, you know, what can I do as an individual? I ask myself, and I ask everyone. When we ask ourselves, we have to do this sense of muhasabah, to check ourselves, literally check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. Right? I said this a couple of times. We have to do muraqabah. We are overwatching ourselves. What are we doing that can be done and more? Right? We have mushahada. When we're witnessing Allah, we witness a crime scene, what do? Do we just let that happen? Or are there steps that we can go forward? Right? So one advice is to say, clean up our own houses. What I mean by that is that if there's something happening within your family structure, between the spouses, between the children and the offspring, fix that up. Silat al-Rahim, post-Eid is the perfect time to make that happen. Right? You want to clean the skeletons in your closets, right? Because those things that starts from the family structure, it goes towards being proactive, and it starts from everyone here to see if there's an issue. Because if I think that everything's all okay, we gotta check ourselves, right? We really gotta check ourselves. The hypocrite, when asked, you know, if you say, I'm paraphrasing as well, you know, if you think you don't have any hypocrisy within yourselves, then that's a lie. Right? We have to always check ourselves, because we are a community of ihsan. Right? So we ask, and we end here, inshallah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that we are a people of muraqabah, that we are overwatching the way that we deal in this world. We ask Allah so that we are God conscious, that we are given God consciousness, we are given taqwa. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that we are made to be people of ihsan, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us return to Allah as how those that have passed have returned to Allah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow the mantra Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un to be with us when we're living, and to be with us when we go up into our graves. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow this Eid to be a moment to return to Allah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the upcoming moments that we have of Jumaahs and gatherings, that we're always cognizant that at the end of the day we are returning to Allah, as we always say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wa aqimus salat. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله استغفر وأتوب إليه وصحبه وسلم الصلاة والسلام على Yeah, we could start from the middle and then go right and left, inshallah ta'ala. Oh yeah, don't forget to silence or mute your phones, inshallah, so that we can all have khushu' and attentiveness in prayer. استحضروا عظمة الله في قلوبكم. To have the presence of God is the purpose of our prayer, inshallah ta'ala. Allahu Akbar. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله Alhamdulillah, just an announcement for some updates towards the Masjid, inshallah. So we're looking towards feedback and suggestions for Masjid programs for the community, inshallah. So if you can head by on the Facebook page that Kang Arif is operating, inshallah, and just send a message of some suggestions. That's highly appreciated, inshallah, so that we can all benefit as a community in providing this as a prophetic space, not just for the Muslims, for this community all around, inshallah. So check out Facebook. I think it's At-Thohir, right? Yeah, At-Thohir, inshallah. Recommendations, suggestions, program things, inshallah, and then we'll work things out, inshallah. Jazakumullah khairan. And with a dua, inshallah. Astaghfirullah al-azim, astaghfirullah al-azim, astaghfirullah al-azim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, hamdan shakirin, hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhika wa 'azimi sultanik. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. اللهم إنا نسألك سلامة في الدين وعافية في الجسد وزيادة في العلم وبركة في الرزق وتوبة قبل الموت وعافية عند الموت ومغفرة بعد الموت. اللهم هون علينا في سكرات الموت والنجاة من النار والعفو عن الحساب. اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا وارحمهم كما ربونا صغارا ولجميع المسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب دعوته قاضي الحاجات. اللهم أعنا على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا استغفر بالبأس اشفي أنت الشافي لا شفاء إلا شفاء شفاء لا يغادر سقما. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك وعلى طاعتك. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our transgressions that we do towards you, Ya Allah. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that to forgive our transgressions that we do towards our families and our communities, Ya Allah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our transgressions and oppressions that we do towards ourselves, Ya Allah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our parents and to forgive our foremothers and our forefathers. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to rectify our hearts and to purify our hearts and our minds and our souls, Ya Allah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all our deeds, all our du'as, all our actions that we do from this month of Ramadan, the previous month of Ramadan, and throughout gaining the spirit of Ramadan outside of Ramadan, inshallah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the best of this world and in the hereafter. We ask Allah to help the oppressed all over the world. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.